Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the frosty origins of one of the most powerful and often underestimated mutants in the Marvel Universe, Bobby Drake, the one and only Iceman. From a snowman-like goofball to an Omega-level powerhouse, his journey is one of the most fascinating character arcs in comic book history. So grab a warm drink, because things are about to get chilly. Let's rewind the clock all the way back to 1963. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were on fire, creating a universe of heroes that would define a generation. In the very first issue of the X-Men, alongside Cyclops, Jean Grey, Angel, and Beast, a young, wisecracking teenager named Robert Bobby Drake made his debut. He was the youngest of the original team, the class clown, the little brother figure who always had a joke ready, even in the heat of battle. But don't let his lighthearted demeanor fool you. From the very beginning, the potential simmering beneath his icy exterior was immense. Bobby's powers first manifested during his teenage years, as is common for most mutants. The story goes that he was on a date when a local bully tried to start trouble. In a moment of panic and instinct, Bobby's powers flared up, encasing the bully in a block of ice. As you can imagine, this didn't go over well with the townsfolk. Fear and prejudice quickly turned into a mob, and Bobby found himself cornered and terrified. This is a classic X-Men origin theme, powers manifesting at a vulnerable moment, followed by fear and misunderstanding from the public. It's what makes their stories so relatable. Fortunately for Bobby, Sheriff Masters was on the scene and, showing a rare moment of compassion, took Bobby into protective custody at the local jail. But news travels fast, especially when mutants are involved. This is where Professor Charles Xavier and his first recruit, Scott Summers, also known as Cyclops, enter the picture. Xavier, using his telepathic abilities, had detected the emergence of this new, powerful mutant and knew he had to intervene before things escalated. Xavier sent Cyclops to retrieve Bobby, but the initial meeting wasn't exactly smooth. A scared and defensive Bobby lashed out, leading to a brief skirmish right there in the town. It took Professor X's mental persuasion to calm the situation, even temporarily erasing the townspeople's memories of the event to protect Bobby's identity and prevent further conflict. Back at the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, Bobby, initially reluctant, was given an offer. Learn to control his incredible abilities and use them for the good of mankind. He agreed, taking the codename Iceman and officially becoming the second member of the original X-Men team. Now, let's talk about his powers in those early days. When we first meet Iceman, his appearance is, well, a bit goofy. He looked more like a snowman than a superhero, covered in a thick, lumpy layer of ice. This wasn't just a cosmetic choice. It was how he utilized his abilities. His initial power set was straightforward cryokinesis. He could lower his body temperature and the temperature of the surrounding air, causing moisture to freeze. This allowed him to project beams of intense cold, create shields of ice, and famously, form ice slides to zip around the battlefield. These ice slides became his signature move. Think of it as a super-powered instant roller coaster that he could create out of thin air. It was not only a fast way to travel but also a creative and unpredictable method of attack and evasion. He could swoop in, deliver a frosty punch, and slide away before his opponent even knew what hit them. He could also create complex ice constructs, like walls for defense, cages to trap enemies, or simple but effective projectiles like ice shards. In these early days, he was the team's elemental wildcard, a constant source of both comic relief and surprisingly effective crowd control. However, the snowman form was a physical shell. Underneath that frosty exterior was still Bobby Drake. A major limitation was that if this ice form was shattered, he would revert to his human form, vulnerable and needing time to recover and refreeze. This was a recurring weakness that writers often exploited to create tension. His power was also tied to his body temperature. Overheating or being in a very hot environment could severely weaken him, sometimes preventing him from using his powers at all. Despite these limitations, Iceman was a crucial member of the team. His ability to freeze things solid was invaluable. He could disable machinery, stop projectiles in midair, and neutralize threats without causing permanent harm, which perfectly aligned with Xavier's philosophy. His battles against villains like Magneto, the Blob, and Juggernaut forced him to be creative. He couldn't go toe-to-toe with them in terms of pure strength, so he had to out-hink them, using his environment and the unique properties of ice to his advantage. He would freeze the ground to make them slip, create disorienting sculptures of ice, or encase them completely, buying his teammates valuable time. One of the most interesting aspects of his early development is the psychological side. Being the youngest, he often felt the need to prove himself. His constant joking was partly his natural personality, but it was also a defense mechanism, a way to cope with the immense danger and responsibility they faced daily. He looked up to the older members, especially Cyclops, and yearned for their respect. This dynamic created a lot of great character moments and showed that beneath the ice and the jokes, there was a young man struggling with the weight of his powers and his place in the world. As the years and decades went on, the understanding of Iceman's powers, both by the character himself and by the writers, began to evolve dramatically. This is where we start moving away from the simple ice guy and into a truly terrifying elemental force. The first major shift was in his appearance. He eventually learned to transform his body into organic ice, a much sleeker, sharper, and more formidable look than his original snowman form. This wasn't just a visual upgrade. In this state, he was more durable, and if his body was shattered, he could reform himself from any available moisture, even from the air itself. This was a game changer. Suddenly, his old weakness was gone. Destroying his physical form was no longer a solution. It was merely a temporary inconvenience. This new level of control opened up a whole new world of possibilities. He wasn't just freezing the moisture around him anymore. He was becoming one with it. He learned he could add mass to his ice form, growing to incredible sizes, becoming a literal ice giant. He could also travel through water in any form, liquid, solid, or gas. He could merge with a river, flow downstream, and then reform his body miles away. He could literally become the water vapor in the air. This makes him one of the most difficult characters to contain or track. How do you imprison someone who can turn into a cloud? Then came the revelation that he was an Omega-level mutant. For those unfamiliar with the term, in the X-Men universe, Omega-level designates a mutant with an undefinable upper limit to their specific power. It's the highest power classification, reserved for mutants who are deemed a world-altering threat or a world-saving asset. Emma Frost, a powerful telepath herself, was one of the first to truly grasp the sheer scale of Bobby's potential. She once took over his body and, uninhibited by his fears and self-doubt, demonstrated abilities he never dreamed of. She instantly froze an entire army of demons, repaired his shattered body from a puddle, and manipulated moisture on a molecular level. This experience was a wake-up call for Bobby. He realized his greatest limitation wasn't his power. It was his own mind, his fear, his lack of confidence, and his tendency to not take himself seriously were holding him back from his true potential. This began a new journey of self-discovery, where he started to explore the very limits of cryokinesis. He's learned to perform feats that are simply mind-boggling. He can achieve absolute zero, the temperature at which all atomic motion ceases. He can freeze every drop of water in a person's body instantly. He can create sentient ice clones of himself, each capable of independent thought and action, essentially creating an army of Icemans. He has even shown the ability to manipulate thermodynamic energy on a global scale, suggesting he could potentially trigger a new ice age if he ever truly lost control. Think about that for a second. The jokester, the class clown of the original X-Men, has the latent ability to end all life on Earth. It's a testament to his character and his heroism that he wields this unimaginable power with such restraint. His journey from a lumpy snowman to a god-tier elemental is a story of potential unlocked. It's about overcoming self-doubt and embracing who you are, powers and all. Bobby Drake started as the team's little brother, but he grew to become one of its most powerful and indispensable members. His story is a chilling, thrilling, and ultimately inspiring tale that proves you should never judge a book or a mutant by its frosty cover. What's your favorite Iceman moment? Do you think he's still an underrated character? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content on your favorite heroes and villains. See you next time.